Greetings world.
You are watching From the Shadows with your hosts Enki, Fawkes and Sitting Bull. Brought to you by anonymous TruthSec. Join us as we discuss some of the ways this world is broken. Join us as we invite the truth into our lives. Lives which until now have been blind. Join us as we bring you the truth from the shadows. We are not meaningless. We are not going away. We are anonymous. We are legion. We can forgive. We do not forget. You should have expected us.
I love activists. If we're going to take this country back, it's going to be activists that does it. And you're it. Praise God. Thank you. Thank you so much.
We, ladies and gentlemen, mean us, the American people, not some bumbleheads in Washington, D.C. It's us, not them.
My name is Sergeant Rick Schiff. I'm an 11-year veteran of the San Francisco Police Department. I hold the department's highest Medal of Honor for bravery. That
used to mean a lot more to me than it does now.
At the peak of the pyramid, you've got a tiny, tiny few people who know everything there is to know about that organization. They know its real agenda, its real motivation, where it's really seeking to go.
But it's only through activism that we're going to do it. And you are the reason that I'm here today. Praise God. I'm just so pleased to serve with you at this time in our nation's history.
The further you come down from that pyramid peak in any organization, you're meeting more and more and more people who know less and less and less about what that organization's agenda really is. They only know their part in it.
Center for Disease Control and Prevention is in charge of the screening with the U.S. Public Health Service. I've never seen the CDC or U.S. Public Health Service work together with the Border Patrol at the border.
They call it compartmentalization. I always also call it the mushroom approach. Keep them in the dark and feed them bullshit.
God bless all of you out there. I appreciate it very much. I have our publication here, Aid and Event Police Military Newsletter, and I want to share something with you here.
Those people are disappearing. We don't know what they have, where they're going, where they're taking them. Surely they're being quarantined somewhere, we just don't know where. And even the agents don't know what the diagnosis is of these illnesses.
Through this pyramid system, well into the 90% of people who are daily in their jobs in this city and other cities around the world, who are daily pushing this world towards more and more centralization of power.
From the day I joined Task Force 160 at Fort Campbell, Kentucky, until today, I've seen
nothing but government corruption.
And we already know there's in the epidemic levels of certain diseases in Mexico and Central America.
Telling me about the satanic cult movement in this country, the United States. People on the East Coast, West Coast, South, and so on and so forth. Same basic story, and they not only told me about the cults, but they told me about the inner workings of the cult.
I have a good buddy at one time, J. Edgar Hoover, director of the FBI. He was not a homosexual like they say. That was a lie that they built up to discredit him.
Who are daily pushing this world towards more and more centralization of power on a global level, either don't realize they're doing it because they don't see the big pattern, or they don't realize the implications of what they're doing.
And all these aspects of life, the banking system is a pyramid, so is the media, so is the secret society network of the world, so is the multinational corporation network. And at the peak of their pyramids, they fuse into one global pyramid peak, where a tiny few people
maybe no more than 13 families.
In other words, the virus is working in the reverse of what it has historically. Before it moved from the jungle into the populated area, now it's starting in the most populated areas in those cities and working through the population.
Really explained what has happened in the last 240 or 50 years.
Pervade down the pyramid, an all-encompassing policy which pushes us daily towards more and more centralization of power.
That it was a conspiracy so monstrous that people don't even believe it exists. And that's the problem we have today, folks, is doing that. Convincing people that this conspiracy is real. And to anybody, if they'll just look at the evidence, that 9/11 was an inside job, right?
By the way, this dovetails, the satanic cult movement dovetails into the part of the Illuminati, dovetails into drugs, prostitution, homosexuality.
They will kill a lot of innocent people so that they can shut our mouths by censoring their truth on the internet. All this could be translated as, we want to go to war with Iran and need an excuse. We're going to murder several thousand Americans, blame it on Iran, and have our war. Have a nice day. They're basically saying, get ready for epic false flag events. The question remains, who are they going to blame this time? Is it Iran, Syria, maybe Turkey or even Russia? All these regimes with their so-called dictators sitting in their compounds. It's funny how the members of the axis of evil are so stupid that they always seem to put the blame on themselves and wait to be bombed into oblivion. It takes time for the CIA to plan and plant explosives for a controlled explosion. The only people carrying out 9/11 style attacks aren't ISIS or Al-Qaeda, it's the ones pushing their narrative. And we all know who they are. They're the ones that profit from all these wars with their fear-mongering. So let me guess, after an attack, they will find 5-6 terrorist passports, all from Iran. Here's an idea, Mr. Secret Service Chief. Note there, word secret. Instead of blabbing to the world about the alleged threat, simply do your job and covertly take care of your alleged threat, instead of trying to spread fear among the masses, gullible enough to buy into all your fear-mongering hysteria.
The surveillance system is illegal and operates in total secrecy. Under this system, the government can know where you've been, where you are,
and where you're going.
Are you serious? Are you serious? CNN, what are you doing?
I can't believe they put us in jail. It's not a jail, it's a re-education center.
They just took some people off the boat and they took them to Tidwell Road, and the buses were taking them from the boat to the Tidwell Road Walmart Supercenter right there in Jersey Village, and there's other ones that are being used too. So there you have it. there's
your temporary FEMA camps.
Hello?
Yo, what's going on?
It's 4:39 in the morning.
Oh, are you serious?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, true. I don't think I even meant to call you. Like, we're about to do the show at the moment.
Are ya?
Yeah, true. You can come in and do some of it if you want. It's up to you.
But I'm in my PJs.
Oh, no, that's cool. That's all right. Like, you don't have to. We're just talking about like all the videos and shit that are coming out on Las Vegas, and we're doing like a follow-up video on that.
I know it needs to be done, and
What's up, man?
Yeah, that's better.
Nice, bro. Looking good, man. Fucking love that mask.
I do too. The bullet holes make it. The V's cool too, but the bullet holes.
It's an eye grabber, dude.
Here last week I told Ethan that the bullet holes didn't go through because it was made out of Saudi passports.
Nice. Bulletproof. Yeah, those were pretty interesting, man. I'll talk about it in a second. You watched that one with the ball?
Yeah. I've seen it before, but I don't know, for some reason it was like a wow, you know? Like,
yeah.
That's it. That explains all the other crap.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I don't know what happened there. Are you having connection issues?
I am.
Oh, yeah. That's all good. We'll get through it. So what's the time, man? It must be pretty late, yeah?
The plan. Who's that?
Hey?
Who's that on there?
Oh, that's Flower Child, man. I don't know. I think she didn't leave. She must have probably just hit the home button or something, thinking she got out of it.
Huh.
Hmm.
Looks like she's there, but she's not.
Yeah, man. I don't know what's going on. I can't get her out. I can't figure out how. Anyway.
10 till 5.
Hey?
10 till 5.
10 to 5. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Dark mask. He's a darkie tonight. I gotta wear my white one because I can't see that one in the low light. I got a little more light this time though. I'm in a different spot, so.
That's so good.
I came across today. I don't know if you want to mention it or not. Ashley came in and had some pictures of these animals that were burned. But the land wasn't burned around them. Said they were burned in wildfire, but the land wasn't burned in Peru.
That's interesting. That's what I mean. And there's trees, man, that are still standing there green with green leaves and everything. Yeah. And like, yeah, I've seen photos of trees burning from the inside out. And like, that's normal. That's normal to see, you know, but their leaves are still fucking green.
She says that that the locations like California, the Santa Rosa one, and this one in Peru, where they're at, lines up with Agenda 21 maps. Some of them line up with Agenda 21 maps.
Yeah, that's fucked.
So it's not like they're trying to kill people off. What they're doing, they're trying to like eliminate areas that are going to be a problem with zoning or whatnot, and so they're like jockeying into position for it, you know.
Yeah, man. I wanted to talk about that video, dude, a bit more. That fucking. There we go. I can see you now. That fucking.
About what?
You know that ball video, the one with the ball smashing into the trade center.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to talk more about that, man.
That's important because that's a reasonable explanation for everything. You know, the way it just went into the building like it was, the protrusion from the bottom of the plane, and coming out the other side too.
It is indisputable that most, if not all, of the images shown on TV were doctored in some way. Almost all video images screened, including the ones which appeared to have been filmed on camcorders by members of the public, had artificial composite plane images added to the footage. This is a very difficult fact for most people to take on board. To get clarification on this, I would recommend you watch the September Clues film. See the plane's nose emerge from the World Trade Center tower. This is physically impossible. Add to this the fact that if we reverse the tape, the plane does not appear in the wide-angle shot because it has only been inserted in the narrow shot. Also, there is evidence that a layer mask has been used, behind which the editors have tried to make the plane disappear. However, the position of the layer mask, which was intended to be behind the tower, drifts to the left due to the camera drift and reveals the damning evidence of their video fakery. Finally, because this shot was aired live, after they realized the errors in their production, they frantically fade the footage to black, but are too late to conceal their tricks. This is just one of many anomalies exposed in Simon Shack's film. Some of the networks were broadcasting live images as the second tower was struck. The fabricated live images you have just seen were from Fawkes News Channel, allegedly filmed from a helicopter. NBC were also broadcasting live. In their live footage, seconds before the strike on World Trade Center 2, what has been described as a ball comes into the shot on a seemingly straight path. This ball was not commented on by any of the presenters and has never been discussed on mainstream news. In NBC's live footage, the feed switches to a different camera about 4 seconds before the second impact. Note that no plane is seen in any of NBC's live images. In this lower quality VCR recorded version, the camera does not switch, so we can see the resulting explosion. If we consider the path of the ball, it appears to be what causes the impact on World Trade Center 2. Both its trajectory and its speed show that it would have been at the point of impact at the time impact occurred. So we have just seen the footage which NBC broadcast live. Now let's compare that to what NBC showed on their evening news. This damning clip from September Clues shows that NBC were also using video fakery. The footage on the left is the live image, and on the right, the evening news image. The sequences are synchronized and in slow motion. The images at first sight seem as though they are from totally different camera positions, but in fact they are not. By comparing the perspective of the towers, we can see that these two images are probably filmed by the same camera, and certainly from the same position. They have in fact modified three aspects of the recorded live images to create the evening news images. Firstly, they have added a blue-grey tint to the image to make it seem different. Second, they have removed the entire background imagery of the river and New York skyline. And third, they have added a fake aeroplane which does not appear in the live shot. Let's go back and look at the live image of the ball as it comes towards the towers. We have increased the contrast and looped the sequence just to have a closer look. It certainly does not appear to be a plane, a helicopter, or even a missile. It is possible that the live footage from this angle at this time was not meant to be shown to the public. I could now add this trajectory path to the 3D model. I have drawn the ball in two locations along its path. The first is at the point as it disappears behind the tower, and the second is at the point of impact. We can now see clearly that the path looks rather different to that screened on TV. Now we can see it in 3 dimensions. We can now use the model to find further information about what happened. If we spin around to the north side of the towers, we can position ourselves where the NBC camera viewed the ball. Here we see the same trajectory path as viewed on TV. The next logical thing to do was to superimpose the TV images onto my 3D model, just to show I have the ball's path as close to the actual as possible. Here the camera angle is moving slightly, which makes the two a little difficult to line up, but we can see that the path is more or less correct. Because I had a 3D representation of the path of this mystery piece of hardware, I was able to view the approach of the object from any vantage point, from above the towers, from the ground, from anywhere. There was a famous piece of 9/11 footage known as the Hezekiah footage, and is probably the image most people still have impaled on their minds. This footage was filmed by Michael Hezekiah, an alleged member of the public, who handed his recording over to CNN, along with the rights to his footage. He has also been told by his lawyer that he should not talk to anyone relating to information about his filming of the event. I am not alone in believing that the plane in this clip has been added using video editing. The plane is very grey and uniform in colour, and looks like it has been picked out of a computer graphics stock image library. I decided to use my 3D model, which includes the trajectory path of the ball, and overlay this on top of the Hezekiah footage. This was a eureka moment. It all became very clear what they have done. The plane's path in this clip is absolutely identical to my predicted ball flight path. When they have inserted the fake plane, they have inserted it such that the ball is in the center of the plane's hull, thus hiding the ball. In other words, they have used the fake plane to cover up the ball.
Well, and it started getting me thinking, like, it opens up a whole new can of worms, really. It's like, yeah, they've got the whole Blu-ray and stuff. You know, we know about all that technology, you know, the holograms and whatnot. But
it's thought that they have anti-gravity. It's thought that they have anti-gravity propelled vehicles too. So
yeah, man, they do, man. That's what they do. You know, all through history, as soon as someone comes along with anything that resembles that, you know, like they could lead something, some kind of breakthrough in that field. They, you know, the Illuminati or whatever, they snatch up all the patents to it. They buy it, you know, fund it, so to speak, to see what they could find out of it, you know, and then they keep it for themselves.
Yeah, some of it came from Tesla. That, you know, they killed him. I mean, you know.
Yeah, and
I
definitely.
Think, I mean, he was old and going to die, but I mean, you know, something's not right there. And then there's that Roswell thing. You know, if they got that, they had to reverse engineer and learn stuff from it. You know.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, it's kind of amazing shit.
Yeah, well, and that's what I mean. Getting back to the reverse engineering, do you reckon you've heard of Roswell and the spacecraft, like the crashed spacecraft and all that? It's become like a tourist destination.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you reckon a craft crashed there, and the government snatched up all the shit and started working on backwards engineering on that?
That's what they say. People that were around that have blown the whistle on it. That's what they say. Yeah.
Yeah. I believe that. I believe they would get their hands on whatever they could, if any, and I believe they've shot things down, in the past as well, for sure. The military and whatnot, they've seen things flying around, they've shot it down, and they've scraped up whatever they could from the wreckage.
Yeah,
You've got the
I
heat
would
of
imagine.
we're not talking about
I would,
that even, they've been part of the recovery teams. So,
yeah, I would think too that a lot of the stuff that people see, like the stuff that you film and things like that don't know what it is. I would bet maybe not all of it, but a lot of it, I would bet is military vehicles that we
yeah.
don't know exist.
Well, a lot of a lot of the footage I've captured, like personally, man, of UFOs and just things flying around in the sky. Some of them have definitely been, it's in public record now. It's the TR-3V craft, the secret space government craft or whatever. It's got anti-grav tech in it, man. It can even mask itself in like a spheroid dome type energy field, right? And it basically separates itself from time and space, meaning it can teleport itself. It can do all kinds of crazy fucked up shit, that you would only think you could see in sci-fi movies. They've had this shit for years, man. People have been blowing the whistle for at least the past, 10 years that I'm aware of, man. And I've been seeing these things in the sky in the past year more and more frequently. And it's just like they don't give a shit if anyone can see them anymore. And it's got me wondering why they don't care. They're trying to speed things up or something.
Well, that and like with the false flags and such as that, you're seeing a lot of that on the increase. And I believe it was 272 out of the last 276 days. There's been a mass shooting. They define mass shooting as 4 or more people.
Yeah.
So I mean, we're not even hearing about. We're only hearing about the big ones. We're not even hearing about them.
Right, and it keeps escalating, and people have said that, like in the intro of this video, man, that's going to be in it. I've put in a video that basically says exactly that, and it's like people have been saying that's going to happen for years and years and years. It's like, when are people going to start listening? Because all the dots are starting to add up. Even the talks of all the FEMA concentration camps, all those plastic coffins, lining, outside the fucking major cities and whatnot.
Same thing happened with Nazareth, though.
Hey?
Who was that?
I don't know.
Is that FC? I think she fell asleep. Talking in her sleep.
Oh, that's awesome. Anyway. Maybe we can influence her dreams.
You think?
I don't know. Try.
Put a little collective conscience on her and like alter her realities by thoughts, right?
That's it, man. I'll chuck some binaural beats on, and we'll start talking really calmly and soothing. Anyway, I'm sure she'll wake up and realize she's left it going eventually.
Yeah, probably. It'd be fun if before we're done. That'd be really fun.
yeah. All right. We can do that. But yeah, we were going to talk more about like the Las Vegas situation and what's going on there, because a lot of new stuff's coming out, man, since we put out a video on that. Like a lot of new stuff. And you posted a video on Facebook that got a fair bit of attention, man. That acoustic analysis of the audio of the videos and shit. And basically that concluded that there was multiple gunfire from different locations. And I watched the video earlier.
It showed 2 locations. What he did showed 2 locations, but that wasn't all the videos that they have from that.
Right.
He just tested a couple of videos that were done in the same spot, and tested the sound and discovered that one of the sounds was coming from 450 yards, and the other was coming from 250 yards.
Yeah, man. Yeah, and I watched the clip that you linked me to, man. You know, that one earlier tonight, and it was about how I think you linked me to it anyway. I'm not sure, but it was basically all these videos, and he was analyzing all the videos from different angles and syncing them up at the same time, and it basically
Yeah.
showed that the crowd reacted from the inner part of the audience at the concert. They start reacting and running away before the audible gunfire. Basically, like it's like there was something that happened right where they were in the crowd. You know, not from outside, but inside the crowd.
Yeah, and the
Um,
witnesses said that they were, some of the people who were shot said that they saw at least 3 shooters. So
yeah,
in the
and
crowd.
there's been that video that came out, man. You know, with the shooter wearing, you know, whether it be security or police gear, I'm not 100% sure, but you know, they were shooting, you know, from the corner of the screen into the crowd. Some people tried to say that was a torch or something. You know, it was someone holding a torch, but it was definitely not a torch. You could see the muzzle flash, and that guy
Yeah,
didn't give a
the
shit.
torch,
He was shooting.
by torch they mean a flashlight. That's what it would be known as here. They would say it's a flashlight.
Yeah,
Someone said
yeah,
it was a torch. They were obviously from England or somewhere where they call a flashlight a torch. But that's what
right.
they were talking about, was that he had a flashlight. And I don't know. I mean, I can't say for certain 100% what happened, but I can say that when he assumed the position of firing, that's when the firing started. And there were people dropping in front of him, you know.
Right.
Whether he was shooting or not, I don't know. You know, I saw another guy analyze that. I saw it just last night, and he seems to think that the guy was ducking for cover. It's possible, but I think with that video, it's really hard to tell for sure what's happening. But yeah, it's a no-brainer that one guy didn't do all of that. You know, it's almost like the Oswald magic bullet theory. You know,
Yeah.
they had to have a magic bullet for the one guy to have done it all. Well, this is the same thing, only on a grander scale.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I heard that some people tried to say the gunfire because it wasn't consistent, like a normal automatic weapon, that it was a hand-wielded weapon. And then they came out saying that it was you know, they released the photos and everything. It was one of those,
Bump stock.
well, yeah, that's it. That's the one. Say it again, man.
Yeah, a bump stock.
Yeah, that's it. And like they were trying to
bumps your shoulder and pulls the trigger, so the kick of the gun causes it to fire again.
right, and that's more of like a gimmicky kind of item. That's what this guy that I was watching a video of this like military guy saying it's just, you know, no one takes it seriously. I don't have. I've only fired a weapon once, man. I don't really know much about guns living in Australia at all. We had them taken off us before my time, man. Even, but yeah, he was basically saying that this guy, if he was using one of these, the recoil would have been, you know, unpredictable. And he was using a bipod stand with his gun. And apparently these things are so easy to knock over, you know, even when you're not firing your weapon. And he was laying his leg right beside it, and it's just still standing there, you know, standing there completely fine. And this guy's just
under it.
Yeah, he was saying that the crime scene had to have been at least tampered with after the fact, you know. There's no way that stuff would have still been standing had all this stuff gone down like it did.
Yeah, and not only that, but I mean, it's pretty certain that he didn't, not pretty certain, it is certain that he at least didn't do all of the shooting. You know, I kind of have the opinion that he didn't do any of it.
Yeah, I have the same opinion. I've been of the same opinion right from the start, man. I kept saying, how easy would it be to walk up behind some guy, man, right? Like the suspect, because in my opinion, he still hasn't been proven guilty. So, you know, he can't really be considered guilty till he's been proven guilty. And in my opinion, he's still innocent. So I'm looking at all the facts still. And how easy would it be, man, to walk up behind this guy on holiday, looking out his window at a concert and just pin him from behind, you know, or whatever, and then do everything you got to do, plant all the evidence, lay him out, put all the guns down, and then just piss off, you know?
Yeah, and this security guard that was shot in the leg or thigh or whatever it was,
Well, has there been one
Jesus.
video? Has there been one video released of him bringing us in a single gun or anything?
No, there hasn't. They're really not sure how he got him up there, if he did.
Well,
You know,
that right there flashes inside job for sure. It's like how else does that happen?
yeah, and you know, if you've ever been in one of these big casinos, I mean, I've been in a lot of them. You don't just walk in and go upstairs. I mean, you have to have a room key. There's guys waiting at the elevator hallway, you know, where there's a bank elevator. There's guys waiting there in their little red suits, you know, like a bellhop type guy, but they're security. And, you know, they're watching all of that. They control those doors pretty well. So it's not that somebody can't do something like that, but to get all of those up there, I mean, come on.
And you said, I mean, go on, sorry, man.
There's tons of questions surrounding that. I mean, why did he go to Arizona? And he met somebody there, obviously. I think I know who he met. They arrested a guy in Tennessee, Johnson City, Tennessee. And the guy had the exact same weapons, and everything was loaded. All the clips were loaded, all the weapons were loaded, everything. They arrested that guy, and he had all that same stuff. He won't talk. He's real belligerent and everything. And you know, there's one theory out there that was an arms deal that went bad. And that's totally within, you know, the FBI has done these gun stings or gun operations before. Gun running stings or whatever. It's Fast and Furious. There were several others that they've done. So, I mean, I don't think we should think all of a sudden now that since it's illegal, they quit doing it. You know, I mean, they're more out of control than they ever have been. So, and then you have the confusion of the CIA being involved too. And if the two of them are involved, I mean, they're kind of at odds with each other most of the time. They're in competition. So, you know, there's going to be things to go wrong there too.
You start, you know, when you start looking at all this shit, you can start seeing how deep the cobwebs go, you know, and it's like, you see what's on the surface and what they want you to see, and then you can kind of see how much of a, you know, it's easy to see nowadays when you start actually looking into things and you realize how much everything is owned and how much they're trying to persuade everyone, you know, to think what they want you to think. Like that movie, you know, They Live. Fuck, man, that was more like a documentary than anything, man. Like that was meant to be a fictional, you know, sci-fi movie. Man, that is like a documentary of today. And we're heading into a more Orwellian. I think, you know, fucking Orwell would wake up in his grave and just be like, holy shit. You know, like.
Yeah, it was a novel. It wasn't supposed to be a manual, you know?
Yeah. Exactly.
So, but, you know, you talk about they let us see. You know, some of the things they let us see, I got to wonder why would they do that? Like, for instance, the security guard, Jesus Campos guy or whatever his name is, the guy that appeared on Ellen's show today, you know, which is real curious.
Security guard, yeah.
Yeah, that's real curious, even that he was on the Ellen show. You know, he walked off of Fox News. Got to wonder why. They were handling the guy totally. And MGM just happens to be the sponsor of her show. So,
yeah,
you know, that's pretty questionable right there. You know, there's definitely a conflict of interest there. But they showed the picture of him. I think everybody has seen the picture of him where it's two pictures of him. One supposedly an older picture, and one he's got a thinner face, but you know, it looks similar. But if you look close at those pictures, the nose and stuff, the cheekbones and stuff don't fit. It's not the same guy. But then they put that out there on purpose. I mean, they're pretty bold with what they do because they have certain things out there that are meant to make us look stupid, right? So they can say, oh, you're just a conspiracy theorist, you know? And I think that's one of them. I think they put that out there kind of as misinformation, you know, to cloud, you know, to get your thought going a different direction than where you're going to find what the problem is. So
they definitely put it on purpose, man. They mix truth in, you know, because what is the perfect lie? It's a lie masked with the truth. So they're always mixing in truth with the lie so that everyone's confused. You know, they don't even care to look into the truth because it's too complicated.
Right. Well, and most people, they see a little bit of corroboration and they, oh, well, you know, that's got to be what it is, you know, because they saw a little truth there. But I mean, you know, it's just like with the Kennedy assassination. Well, yeah, everybody saw him get killed. Who did it? You know, we to this day we don't know for certain. You know, we couldn't prove in a court of law who did it. I understand next week, though. I understand next Friday that Trump's supposed to release like 3,000 pages of records on that still haven't been released. So that'll be interesting.
Yeah, definitely. We'll see what that has to say. But I was gonna just throw this one out there, man. This is a wild one. But do you remember there being, you know that famous video where he's driving, you know, where he gets assassinated, he's waving from the car and shit. Do you remember it being 4-seater or a 6-seater?
You know, I don't remember. I thought it was a 4-seater.
Right. Yeah, I remember
be positive that.
Yeah, well, in any case, it's not. It's a 6-seater and there's 6 people in the car, but that just doesn't match my memory. I was just wondering what your memory of that was. That's all.
Yeah, my memory of it was.
I was curious
because
there's historical events, you know, slightly changing, and people are wondering whether it's, you know, Google info being tampered with, or videos themselves being tampered with, or what's going on. But yeah, I was just putting that out there.
Well, yeah, especially as time goes by, there's more and more of the video editing going on and things like that. I mean, you've seen it where they use the CGI. They could actually put the president on TV, and the guy off stage could be talking with these sensors all on him, and he could be talking, and the president moves, even his mouth and everything moves with that. And I think they use voice and everything.
They could do that a long time ago, man, and I think they're well beyond that with, you know, even what we can see with their workings with fucking quantum computers and, you know, D-Wave quantum computers. That's not even the only quantum computers that exist. There's heaps all over the world, man, like heaps of companies, you know, working on these things that can connect with parallel dimensions, so to speak. You know, it's crazy stuff, you know. It's hard to wrap your head around if you haven't really looked into much of it. But there's people that are also coming up with crazy theories, like, you know, well, not so crazy, actually, really. They're coming up with far-fetched theories, like someone's tampering with reality, or, you know, someone even suggested that the weight of a single electron was altered at CERN, and in cause, well, in effect, basically wiped out the entire universe. The entire universe is imploded, and all of our consciousnesses were shifted to a parallel one or something. And that's why there's all these. It's consistent history with minor changes.
Yeah, well, I mean, we can't deny that that's taken place. So, what's the explanation for it? And you know, I've heard a lot of possible explanations, but that's probably the most sensible sounding one. You know, the one that sounds like it makes the most sense.
We live inside the mind of a living organism. Call it the Matrix. Call it simulated reality. Call it our quantum field. Whatever system of belief helps you wrap your head around it. We exist within that matrix, or simulated reality, infinitely, in infinite parallel universes, with only minute changes in details and history throughout each. When we die, physically, our physical vessel dies in this reality. Our consciousness moves into a parallel reality, where a doppelganger of you exists. And you take on existence in that reality, without noticing the changes. Some people do notice changes and think nothing of it, others notice them and it begins their journey of enlightenment. Some people are calling it the Mandela effect, but it's nothing new. Take Jesus. He realized he had lived countless times before, that this was just a simulation. He didn't have the words for it back then, no one did. That there are infinite parallel universes with infinite versions of him, each standing still static in existence like frames from a movie. We are constantly moving through parallel dimensions, static, creating the illusion of time. He knew that when he died his consciousness would shift into a doppelganger's body in an alternate reality, to continue living, without awareness. Only small, minute details in this alternate reality are different and most wouldn't notice, but he did. He realized that he'd died countless times before. This time he was here, in this reality, his consciousness, for some reason. That's why he disappeared. He lived with the Tibetan monks for a while, came back, performing miracles, teaching people to love one another. Because that's all that you need. Most people hearing this reality, right now, have shifted from various other realities, or dimensions, whatever. They are well known as indigo children, or star beings, and we've all been brought here for a reason. The other versions of you in parallel realities are stagnant, static, without motion. Think of time as an illusion. All possible past, present and futures exist simultaneously. It's only us moving into parallel dimensions that create the illusion of time, lol. Much like a projector rolling an old film. Until you apply the motion of moving the still frames through the projector, they are just still frames. Is that making sense? Individual souls' consciousness shift from one parallel dimension to a new one all the time. Remember the still frame analogy. This describes the idea of synchronicity. As you manifest the reality you desire, you gradually move through dimensions. All with consistent histories, slight changes. Where you are on your path of synchronizing with your true self will always reflect your reality and vice versa, and as you move toward transcendence, so will most other souls in your reality at the time. We are all here to endlessly try to synchronize with Source, creating one possible, perfect reality, with the collective unconscious. Living endless cycles in a quantum reality, not knowing where you begin or you end. You're yourself, yes, but beneath that we are all connected to a larger entity, thinking our existence into being. Given this, you could never know if your consciousness was 30 years old, or 3,000 years old, and you've simply moved into parallel realities multiple times, as to progress along your journey of ascendancy. This will go on until all possibilities have been experienced.
And we don't know about these dimensions and everything. We don't know very much about it. There's a lot we don't know, really. So
it makes you wonder how what's the extent, what's the extent of what's changing, so to speak. So like what if we wake up next week and 9/11 never happened? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, what can they really do? Like, what? It's scary.
That's a good point. Carried out to its logical conclusion, that's what it would do. It would get more and more blatant, all just like these attacks and everything. They would be more bold every time they did something like that. And yeah, they'd be able to just go, hey, we can do whatever we want, because now we can erase it.
Exactly. And they could. It makes me wonder, like, to the point of our history. How often has this kind of thing happened? Is it a natural phenomenon? And if it is, has it always been happening? And if so, what could that be? Could that be a explanation to an extent of how evolution works in our reality? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, do you know where I'm going with this? Like,
well, I don't believe in outright evolution. You know that, but there are forms of evolution that do take place. It's adapting and things like that. That type of evolution, I believe, takes place.
Right, and that's just genetic evolution in response to external stimuli, man. And that's totally right. That happens everywhere and everything.
Right, and it's a lot different than something going from a one-celled animal to walking up on the shore and standing upright and learning to talk and use tools and all by accident. That's a whole different kind of evolution than what I believe exists. But I do believe there are some forms of evolution, yeah. And that doesn't go against the Bible at all to say that.
Well, dude, there's not one single archaeologist or even geneticist that could show you a single bone that's been found connecting us to apes.
Right.
they've got all
Right.
these skeletons, all these different stages of ape evolution and whatnot, or hominoid beings on this planet, but none actually linking the final one of them to us. Because, you look at it and it's like all these gradual changes through heaps of time, gradual changes, then all of a sudden, fucking bang. There's this big gap, bang, we're just there. Like, it doesn't make sense at all.
There's a huge missing link. Yeah, there sure is. And
If you go in with an unclosed mind and look at all the evidence, that's the only conclusion that you can make, that something's interfered or played a part in our evolution.
Well, yeah, and I think that's probably the case. And people say, well, how you're damned now, you're going to hell because you're going against the Bible. No, not really. I mean, if you stop and think about it, why did all the people but Noah get killed at one time? Why were they all destroyed? Because they were doing, the Bible says that the end times will be just like the days of Noah. We would be doing the same thing. What kind of stuff are we doing right now?
Yeah, it's exactly the same. Yeah.
There's all this genetic splicing, GMOs, all that stuff, making clones, this and that. Well, they were messing with the gene pool back then. That's what I think. And I think there's evidence that bears that out. And I think it's being hidden from us for a number of reasons. You and I both looked at some stuff on the Book of Enoch just in the past few days. And, you got to wonder, why wasn't Enoch put in the Bible? Because in the book of Jude, they actually mentioned the Book of Enoch in the New Testament. So, and it was used at one time, but the church took it out of there.
It should have been used, but you have to think that back in the days of, what was it, Nicene? The Council of Nicaea. Yeah, they when they were putting together the Bible and deciding what books to leave out and whatnot, they were trying to they didn't even have the knowledge to some of the things that we have now, man. That some of the things that we've uncovered since, that predates the Bible,
Right.
So it sounded airy fairy to them. To them, it just sounded like cuckoo shit. They were just like, we can't include this basically because they were trying to keep it. Do you know what I'm saying? Like that's my opinion. That's my interpretation of the situation anyway.
And you have all these people that think they're Bible believers and such, but then you talk about giants, and they look at you like you're insane. Well, look at Genesis chapter 6; it's right in the Bible.
Exactly.
So they're Bible believers, and yet they don't believe that part. Is that what they're saying?
Well,
I mean,
I've found that some of the most devout Catholic or religious people are the most hypocritical. I'm just going to say that, man.
Right. Well, because they're practicing religion, and religion is made by men.
Exactly.
So
they even see that Jesus himself, in a sense, was anti-religion. He told his followers to never, he told them that deceivers preaching religion would come along and to not follow them. He would tell people to not follow them. And what are people doing?
Yeah, and why? Well, because they're the most powerful people in society a lot of times. Like, look at the Pope and how powerful he is. But,
he sits in his palace of gold while he prays for the poor and the homeless.
Yeah, and he could just sell that cherry sitting in and feed them all for a month. Worldwide. I mean, why don't he? He puts us down when we don't give or do this or do that, and then he pockets half of it. So
they're all evil, and they're all tricking the world basically into worshipping pagan sun gods, which in turn feeds their ritualistic desires, which at the end of the day is Luciferian, because they don't want people to believe in, what we know to be true, that there is one source God that flows through everything, You don't
and I can't tell you what that is. I can't tell you what that God is. I could not describe what God is to anybody. Yet,
same.
I know He's there. I feel it, and I know, and I've seen signs that He's there. I've never seen Tokyo either, but I believe it's there.
Yeah.
because I've seen enough evidence of it. You know, so
Yeah.
you know, why is it so hard to believe in that? You know, what is God? I don't know. For all I know, he's an alien that came here and you know manipulated something. Could have been the apes that he manipulated. Who knows? But he made it. I don't think that's really true. But you know, I was kind of being a little facetious with that. But you know, why is that so hard to believe? We can believe aliens can come in and make us, but we can't believe God can. You know?
No, well, the way I look at it, right, is people are mixing up gods with a small g, you know, a lowercase g, and gods with a god with a capital G, the singular God. I believe that there were, you know, gods lowercase g that did walk among us, that did genetically alter us from apes or whatever on the earth. I genuinely believe that that happened. There's more than enough evidence of that happening. Sorry?
I'd say it's possible. I mean, you know, I don't know. You know, even the book of Genesis doesn't tell us how God created us. It just tells us he did. You know?
Did he have a staff? Was there some kind of symbolic thing in the Garden of Eden or something with a staff, with a snake wrapped around it or something like that, or a snake wrapped around a tree, wasn't there?
Well, that's how they represent the serpent, which would be Satan. You know, it was a possessed serpent of some type. And we don't know what type of serpent or anything.
Dude.
Yeah.
The symbol of genetic DNA is the same thing. And it's just, it makes me wonder if all that shit, you know, was going on back then and that all this Bible stuff is just metaphors and symbology all rolled into stories that people could understand at the time in a really, you know, childish way.
I kind of would go against that. For one thing, you know, people see the Bible, especially the early part of the Old Testament, you know, what the parts that Moses wrote, people see that as having been handed down all of this way and everything. Okay, a good example would be Enoch. Okay, Enoch was Noah's grandfather, right?
Yeah.
So, excuse me, great grandfather. All right.
Yeah.
And then Methuselah, then Lamech, and then Noah. So Enoch was his great grandfather, but Enoch was alive at the same time when Moses was, and part of their lives overlap. Also, you know, a better example would be his son Methuselah, because he's the longest one he had the longest life of anyone. And he lived 900 and something years. So you got to understand that from Adam to Noah, that could have been just 2 or 3 generations, not dozens of them. You know?
Okay.
So these guys, I was
always under the. Sorry, I was just going to say I was always under the impression it was a lot more than that. You know, even though the Bible didn't speak of, I thought it was heaps more than the Bible spoke of.
It's possible. It's possible that. I mean, we know that creation goes back way farther back than man does. That's kind of a no-brainer. Yeah. And we don't know really what the word means that was translated 7 days. The days of creation, you know, that could be 7 days as in 24-hour periods, or that could be 7 days as in eras, you know. So like in my day or whatever, you know how we use the word that way. Okay, there's more than one way to use the word day. So that could have been seven periods of time that we don't even know. That's possible, and also. There's evidence in the Bible, right in the very first verses, that the whole story's not there. It says, in the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. Okay, fine. We can all understand that. You see Yosemite Park or something like that. It's beautiful. God created it, and it's beautiful. All right? So that's what we have to understand, that when it says God created the heaven and the earth. But then it says, and the earth was without form. Something happened in between those two. void
Yeah,
and
right.
darkness on the face of the deep, and something had to happen, and we have a fossil record that bears that out. So, and there's definitely marks on the land that some great cataclysm, I mean, even greater than Nibiru or whatever, some great destruction took place on the earth. And
Well, I've got some
go
pretty
through a
far
Bible.
out beliefs. I think I have some even more far out beliefs. Some people think Bible believers are crazy. My beliefs are crazier than that even, man. I believe in all the research I've concluded that Earth basically was a result of a cataclysmic event, whether it be from a Nibiru collision or something similar that basically shifted us from the fifth position from the sun to the third, and basically we were like a crater, of a planet, and then over time, because we had the different crustal plates shifted over itself to form a sphere, the Earth. And apparently we've got the water supposedly that we have on this planet, man, is supposedly to have come from the first initial big planet, which was known as Tiamat, or no, it was called something else. I can't remember, to be honest. But yeah.
And see, something like that having happened would not be contradicting of the Bible at all. I mean, because the Bible doesn't tell us everything. It tells us what we need to know, basically. So, especially when it comes to the creation, basically what it's telling us is why there's this battle going on. That's what the book of Genesis is telling us, especially the creation part, and then the Adam and Eve and falling from grace and whatnot, this, eating of the fruit of the tree that was forbidden and whatnot. All of that is giving us an explanation as to why there's this never-ending battle between good and evil, or at least seeming to never end. It is going to come to an end, I believe that, but there's a gigantic battle going on between good and evil. You see that all around us.
Duality.
Right. And I know good people, I know bad people, and they're definitely, there's something that influences them to be good or to be bad, And
Well,
I don't think there's really
they're both just different scales of the same thing, man. Like good and bad. It's just like hot and cold, different degrees of the same thing.
Light and dark, or they're and there's good and evil, and
there's definitely truth in there, right?
I would agree with that to a degree. I would agree with that to a degree. Yes, I would say that it's been manipulated by people to control. That I would agree with.
It was taken from ancient scriptures and Hebrew scriptures and whatnot, and then definitely manipulated. Like you're right. And I'm corroborating a lot of truths or dots I'm connecting in that with things that they're finding, even recently, really ancient shit that they're finding, like you've heard of the Emerald Tablets, the ancient tablets of Sumeria and all that kind of stuff.
And the Dead Sea Scrolls and such as that, yeah.
Yeah. So what do you make?
Those would have been before they did that. Well, there is, at least with I don't know about the one, but the Dead Sea Scrolls, those, I know that they corroborate, for one thing, the book of Isaiah, almost an identical copy of it was found in there. So, but see, they don't have to actually change the wording to change it. All they have to do, it's all subject to interpretation anyways, right?
Yeah.
So you don't have to actually go in and change the words of it. You just teach different interpretation. There's a lot of people that they're not anons, they're not, they're not even truthers. They're just people who are figuring out something's wrong, and they're willing to listen to us because we claim we have the answers to at least part of it, and we talk like we know what we're talking about. So they're coming toward that for their explanation, and I think that's what the greatest thing about Anonymous is. Forget the hacking and everything else. It's what we're teaching people, not only about what's going on, but like you say, we're really just trying to spur them to look into it themselves and to do their own research. And the more people that are doing that, the more things we're going to uncover collectively. I mean, each one of us finds one little tiny piece of it, and eventually a big picture gets built out of those pieces. And, it's a process.
that. I was thinking about that the other day, and I was thinking about if you look at what the organized structure of what we're up against, or which is basically all this corruption and the shadow government, the deep state, whatnot. You've got people like cops and police forces, and military forces not even knowing about half the stuff that we know, and that we're trying to spread around. They don't even care to look at it because in their eyes they're and so be it. Fair enough. They think they're patriots. They're doing the right thing. They don't want to know, and that's a lot of them. But at the same time, that being said, a lot of them are throwing away their medals and shit, and they don't want to have anything to do with the army anymore. Do you know what I mean?
The ones that have, the ones that have figured it out are doing just what you said. It's throwing their medals down. They're saying, "I don't work for you anymore," and and they realized that they were manipulated and used in a plot to kill innocent people, millions of them,
right.
and they were just following in it.
It makes you wonder if, push comes to shove and the shit really does hit the fan and they start rolling out martial law or for, some bullshit reason. Makes you wonder if they're going to stand up or some kind of, military force is going to stand up and actually roll themselves out to defend the people and the general public and even help train them up and defend themselves. And
I think that's the very reason that we see these trains full of UN vehicles and all these UN helicopters and such as that. They're not going to have the U.S. forces do it because they won't. They're going to bring in foreign forces and do it.
Yeah, of course. So it looks like it's on. Yeah, of course. They don't want it to look like it's coming from the inside.
Yeah, Obama discovered that early in his presidency when he was purging the generals, and he had to purge too many of them. And one of the ones he purged is the Secretary of Defense now.
Right.
Can't think of his name off the top of my head, but that guy was a pretty bad general. He had a reputation for you don't mess with this guy. He'll come in and he'll wipe you out.
Yeah, I think I remember something about him. Yeah.
Yeah, he's a character. He is, and he's a likable guy and everything, and he's the kind of guy who a lot of people would vote for president if he ran. I mean, they say this is a guy who could fix this. And I'm not sure that's the right way to go about it all, but I mean, this guy's a pretty tough guy, and he was put out by Obama, but here we are at the next president, and he's right back in. It's the world is a stage, and everybody we're all the actors.
It's the same guy that Trump was supposedly against when he was running for office, all those kind of people, and then he brought half of the same kind of people back in.
Yeah, and their explanation for it is, well, you got to understand what the swamp is. Okay, the swamp's still there. That's what it is. You know what I mean? And
yes.
I think you were pointing it out, and you're 100% right. Trump told us that you guys knew I was a snake when you picked me.
Right, yeah. And that's right. And there was so much stuff going around that if you haven't worked it out by now, man, if you haven't watched one fucking Anon video out there and you haven't worked it out, then I don't know, I don't want to say it, but it just seems like you're seeing what's coming for you. You don't give a shit enough to do anything, so you're just gonna, they basically force ignorance on themselves to feel good about their mindless 9-to-5 drone-like day, contributing to this fucking machine that is using their tax dollars to blow up families and children overseas. And it's like, they don't want to hear the truth because you start trying to tell them and it's almost like they act offended. They get offended at you almost because you're trying to tell them, and it's like, seriously, you have your head that far off your own ass, that you haven't. A
lot of people do. A lot of people want to contribute to their own slavery. Basically,
It's mindless.
Why? I don't know.
It's completely mindless, dude. And I found, and don't get me wrong, I have nothing against our older generation. Besides the fact they fueled the industrialist age and capitalism, mostly unknowingly, in their blissful, unaware ignorance. But you try to talk to even someone, let's say over 70. You try to even mention something. I wouldn't even bother them with it, to be honest. But let's say if you did, they would fight you and argue with you, and almost they would just say, they would call you crazy, shake their head at you, and just they wouldn't want a bar of it because they've lived their life fueling that machine. If they had to admit that you're right, that would be them having to admit that they, fueled evil, even unknowingly, and they don't want to do that.
Yeah, but if they're good people and they got a good heart and good soul and everything, and they're kind-hearted, then they know it's all evil. I mean, you got to know. If you have any common sense, you have to know. There's so much evil out there; it's unreal, and evil seems to be carrying the day. I'll agree with that. It won't. In the end, it won't. Good always wins over evil. But sometimes it appears like evil. Sometimes it appears like it's going to win. And I think that's what we see right now. It appears that way, but I don't think we're seeing it correctly.
Yeah, well, it's almost like I see it as the how it's like the calm before the storm. It's always kind of like the opposite. It's like we're in the shit storm at the moment. We're seeing, it's been prophesied forever, the years of tribulation, or whatever you want to call it, the end times. It's it's not the end times for us. It's the end times for this evil that's been in power for so long, and we're going to move into age,
Right. We went through. See, I'm a dispensationalist. I believe that the Bible is given to us in different dispensations of time. So during the first one, it was the dispensation of innocence, right? Okay, and then it moved from that into dispensation of law and government, and now we're in the dispensation of grace. And the way God presented himself to people in those different time periods has been different, because he was slowly over time preparing it. He took and he put his creation to a test, and they failed the test. And he decided he was going to forgive them for it and fix it. But he can't just go, poof, it's fixed. Evil's got to be put down. There's one thing that God can't do, and that's the one thing that he can't do is act against his own nature.
Right. Yeah.
See, there are certain laws that he's bound by, whether they be physical laws or whatever. There's certain things that he's bound by because of who he is, and he'll cease to be who he is if he violates who he is. So that's pretty deep, but I can tell you for sure that's the way it is. That's what God is. I can't tell you what he is. That's how you would describe what he can't do, is anything that went against. And that's what people do. I mean, we want to control everything.
Yeah.
So the people who are being all goody two shoes and perfect and they've arrived, they no longer are sinners. They're wrong. I hate to tell you, but we're all sinners, and God don't expect us to be able to not sin. He knows why we can't. It's where your heart is. Is your heart in a good place? That's man. It's not going through these stupid rituals they have in these churches and stuff like that, these traditions and whatnot. He condemned that.
Yeah. And I just think, I look at the people that do all that kind of shit. It's a ritual, They've got you living a ritualistic life, going and doing something every Sunday, Sunday, worshipping the Son of God, right? It's like, what the fuck? They've clearly tricked you into worshipping a sun god, and you don't even know it, man. And it's like, what the fuck? The narrative of Jesus, dude, the story, the 12 disciples born of the 25th of December, blah, blah, blah. It's all been done before, with Mithra or whatever.
Yeah, it has.
13,
it has.
100, fucking, there's heaps. there's handfuls of different names, man. Even even Baal, dude, you know, like that evil dude that these Satans are supposed to. Even he, man, the same story. Same story with shitloads, man. Fucking Poseidon. Yeah, I could go on and on. You get the point.
Which copied which? Yeah, which copied which? Or is all of them a copy? And
Well, you have to look at which one came first, man. And in that case, it's well, I'm not actually sure, to be honest, dude. I'd have to go look at that shit. You'd have to start looking there, wouldn't you? And a lot of people think it's you know, the ancient Sumerian story, you know, all the Enki stuff, and you know, Enki, Anu. They reckon that it all started there, man, and all these different names and whatnot that we see coming, you know, these mighty men or names of history, are all kind of him or his soul consciousness reincarnate. So, like, even in like people like, you know, Thoth or Thoth, Hermes, Trismegistus, they're all supposedly the same, you know, reincarnate person or soul. And apparently it all started back then, man. And if you want to go with that narrative, you could just kind of say that people have made up stories about this person over time.
Right.
And they've got
but there's another explanation too. We don't know how far back the early parts of the Bible, we don't know how, for instance, Genesis, the creation story, we don't know how long ago that was. There's usher dates that say 6,000 years, but I'm pretty sure those are wrong. But how wrong, who knows? But right in the beginning, when Adam and Eve sinned and they fell from grace, that was when the first prophecy of a Messiah was given. So all these other stories could have been wannabes. You see what I'm saying? They could have been wannabes that know that tradition, and they're trying to bring it to pass, and they want to be that son of God, you know. So they want to do. You see what I'm saying? Because God gave the first prophecy of a Messiah right after they sinned in their punishment, and He said that my seed you will bruise the seed, your seed will bruise the heel of my seed, and my seed will crush the head of yours.
Right. We're going to start sounding like preachers, man, if we keep going with this too much longer.
Yeah, we are. Yeah, we are. And we were going to talk about, we got on evil, and the reason we did is because what we're talking about is a pretty evil thing that happened, you know. These son of a bitches went out there and they killed 59 people and injured over 600, basically to get something that they want. And something that's related to power. And, you know, they're Luciferian, they're evil people, they're capable of anything, and we shouldn't be surprised by anything. You take the worst things that you think your government has done, the very worst things that you could possibly imagine, and you probably are still off base. It's probably still not bad enough in your mind compared to what they actually.
You look at what happened, man. And you look at where it happened, and you got to ask yourself, like, if they weren't fulfilling some kind of other goal, you know, or so to speak. And you look at where it happened in front of that big fucking pyramid and the fucking Egyptian Sphinx. You know, it's like, what a it's like, are they doing that to fuck with people or what? And then you look at what happened the 32nd floor of the hotel. Right? And that's half of 64, which was the suspect's age. And then his brother lives at fucking, 32 or 320 something street. And it's just like all these 32s chucked in. And it's just like.
And then you got the Route 91 festival on 10/1. Put all the numbers together and you have 9/11/02. I mean 01. The exact same day as 9/11. That's what the numbers go together and add up to, and there are a lot of similarities in those two. And one big one is
you try to tell people that aren't aware of all this stuff, and they think you're fucking insane. And they don't understand these Satanists, these ritualistic fucks. They love their numbers, man, and they love their symbols.
Exactly, and I think that's part of why they love to do it. And they love to telegraph what they're going to do ahead of time. They like to do it because they're toying with it. They're saying, "See how smart we are. We tried to show you guys what we were going to do, and
Right.
you still fell for it." And
Well, I look at it in a similar way, man. I think that they've been doing all this stuff to try and see how far they can go with it. Do you know what I mean? Before everyone just kind of, you know, fucking throws all their, shit on the ground and demands that things change. You know, they're just trying to see how far they can take things. And in
yeah,
my
it's kind of like
opinion,
sticking your toe. It's kind of like sticking your toe in the water to see how cold it is. You know,
yeah,
that's what they're doing basically. They're testing the water.
well, yeah. And I used to think with 9/11, man, I think that they were doing. I think they hit multiple birds with that stone, dude. That was them testing shit, testing hidden kind of technology. That ball video, suggests the use of a drone, which we're seeing fly around everywhere now. That's just almost common knowledge. I try to show someone a video, right, and they're just like, "Oh, that's just a drone. That's just a drone,"
Yeah,
and I'm just like, "Fucking, what are they doing there, man?"
Yeah, it's drones are kind of creepy. They really are. I mean, they're meant to sneak up and spy on somebody, basically. I mean, I remember a story about one guy on the East Coast. His two teenage daughters, were out in the backyard sunbathing, and the police drone flew over their backyard and was looking down in their backyard. And the guy come out of his house with a shotgun and shot it down. And I think he was well within his rights. There's probably a couple of perverted cops at a desk somewhere running that thing, looking at the video, laughing, and thinking they were really cool guys because they could do that. And how invasive. If it was my daughter, I'd want to do the same thing.
Yeah.
So.
And like I've seen them, dude. They're silent as they're completely silent. And if they want, they've got these lights on the bottom of them. A light on every corner. They're a triangle, and there's one in the middle, like a bigger light, and they can flash these lights however they want, dude. I've seen these things in different states of flashing multiple times. They can even make themselves look like an airplane, with their lights from a distance if they want to. And they can go completely black, like completely dark and silent if they want to. I've never seen, I don't know what else their capabilities are, if they have any like stealth modes or whatever. How would you even know? But I wouldn't put it past them. They've got a lot of pretty advanced technology now.
Yeah, they do. I mean, everything that we have, technology-wise, the public sector, the private sector, the government type sector, the black ops sector, they've got 10 times that technology.
Oh, it's more than that now, man. It's accumulative, and it's more up around 20 times now, man.
Probably so. I mean, we'll just look at how much we've gained just in the last 20 or 30 years, how much technology that we've gained in the public sector. So,
dude, I would say more look at the last 10 years, dude. You look at the introduction of the iPhone, like 10, 11 years ago, and since then, dude, it's like everything in the public sector has just gone crazy, man. It's like we're looking at multiple screens now, man. Shit out of Harry Potter. Where he pulls out the newspaper and the pictures are moving and shit. We've got that now, man, in the public sector, just not commercially.
Yeah, and that you talk about all the iPhones out there or all the cell phones and whatnot. That's a good point. How many videos have we seen that were taken from cell phones in Vegas? We've seen quite a few, but stop and think about it. How many could we still have not seen? Because they estimate that in the area that was affected, there were about 30,000 people. Okay. And probably at least 95% of those people probably had cell phones with a camera. I mean, in a place like Vegas, pretty much everybody has a cell phone. So
yeah, everyone does.
Even if only 10% of those people happen to turn those things on, you're talking about at least 3,000, and these are safe estimates, 3,000 people that made video. Well, what could we find in those videos? A lot of them probably don't even know that they have something because it's hard to see. It's dark and, it's at night.
Yeah.
More videos are going to come out, and we're going to learn more.
Yeah, for sure, man.
It's really,
Even just with
it's
the
getting
videos
hard
of
for
kind,
them. It's
even
getting
just
hard for them to pull it off. Do what?
I was just gonna say, even with all the videos that have come out now, man, since it happened already, you know that what the government or what the mainstream media narrative is, you know that that's just bullshit. You know, it's not hard to see that, and so you got to start asking, like you said in a different show, man. You got to start asking yourself, well, what did happen? You know, you've got to start looking at the evidence, the facts, and yeah, more and more of that is going to come out as time passes. You know, people are still looking at shit coming out about 9/11, for God's sake.
Yeah, but there's a lot of similarities between this and 9/11, but there's one huge difference. There's one huge difference. If you'll notice now, almost no one believes that. 9/11, how many people actually bought it? I bought it. You know, for a while I bought it. A lot of people bought it, and a lot of them are coming around now to 9/11. But now when this happens, people are going, no way, You know, and very few people are buying it now.
9/11, man, like you said, is what woke you up, and I believe a lot of other people in the world. I wouldn't say it's what woke me up, but it's definitely a part of, you know, the journey of my awakening. As I'm sure it is for a lot of other people, because it's blatantly obvious that it was an inside job. And if you take the time to look at it, we have the evidence for it. You know, everyone does it now. It's good.
And see, I'm from a generation that the government wouldn't do that kind of thing. You know, they're there to look out for us. They're there to protect us and to keep us safe. And it's pie in the sky, you know. But yeah, I grew up believing that.
Yeah.
You know, and when I heard about the Illuminati, I thought people who talked about that were crazy. They were just ahead of their time, is what they were. You know.
Yeah.
And
I'm from that generation, man, in the middle, in between you guys, man, right? That you were raised with the notion that, yeah, as you said, the government's good, believe in government, blah blah blah. I was raised with the same kind of notion, but I've seen all the shit that happened. You know, I was old enough to watch 9/11 happen live. Not that it woke me up. I was still oblivious. I thought that was terrorists. I was like, oh shit, terrorists, blah blah blah. And then I got older, watched a few other things, and, you know, the Kennedy assassination, heap of conspiracy stuff, and I even started looking at the truth, you know, how money works, the economy, and I just realized that everything's just this one big fucking game, you know, it's all just trickling up to these same people, man, that have been there, you know, from the start, the bloodlines, their families, and it's just like, holy shit. It's like, well, they're just playing everyone like it's just a show and a game. And they're just basically trying to test how far they can go now. Do you reckon they've gone too far now, or?
Well, you know, I think it's coming to a point where, you know, we're maybe not at critical mass of people that are awake, but I mean, we're getting there. You know, there's so many people awake now, and so many of them are frustrated with it. At some point, it's just going to dawn on people that, you know what, there's you know, the tiny dot thing is going to come into play. You know, there's just these little tiny dots right here telling all of these millions of dots what to do. And, you know, we could crush them. We could crush them if only we could be unified and all stand together. That doesn't mean you have to agree on everything. That means you have to agree on what your common enemy is, or your common, you know, your biggest common problem. You have to agree on that. And
right now,
it's not that hard to agree on.
Right. And so, do you believe the government plays a heavy hand in this agenda against us? I'm talking about the government we see in public, you know, the politicians. Do you believe they have a heavy hand in this, like the GMO foods, this agenda to kill us all and stuff? Do you reckon they have a heavy hand in that role, or a heavy role in that?
I think I mean, they're pretty smart people, most of them. So they have to be aware of what's going on.
Yeah.
And, you know, why did Clinton sign and commit us to the Agenda 21 in secret by executive order? Why didn't he bring that out in front of Congress and everything? because he knew he was doing something wrong. You know?
Yeah.
But he's greedy and he was doing it for the wrong reasons, and so he did it that way. And
Right.
I mean, you can mess around and let evil take you over, or you can stay good. It depends on what you're made out of, I guess. Some people, you can put me in front of a firing squad, and I'm going to sit there to the last, and I'm going to say, you guys are all wrong. You guys, what you're doing is wrong. It's evil, until they pull the trigger. But some people won't. Some people will go, you know what? I like you guys. You're nice guys. Let's be friends. I want to be your friend. You know what I mean? And I mean, some people actually have the idea that, yeah, it might be true, this Agenda 21 and everything, but they're going to need some people around still to, clean up after them and whatnot, cook for them or what. Okay, who would want that? Who would want to be that? An outright slave who's second class to them, and you're a nobody and they're somebody, and you lick their boots through your whole.
Dude,
I don't want that.
Yeah, dude, you got to look at the people that are refusing to look at the truth now, man, and they remind me exactly of the people you're describing right now.
Yeah, it's like I say a lot of times. A lot of people talk about freedom, but a lot of those people don't know what the word freedom actually means. Because for us to be truly free, we would have to give up all these little things that government does for us, our food stamps or our Social Security or this or that. We don't want to give that up. Because then what will we do? We don't know, so we just want to stick to it.
People are imprinted with the idea that money is wealth, man, and it's not, man. It's just a means to wealth. It's been made a means to wealth. It's basically the barrier that's been put between, everyone else and the rich few, and that's the way they like it, and they want to keep broadening that margin as big as they can until there's no middleman left. There's no average.
Well, yeah,
average
the
age,
middle class right now is pretty much non-existent. But what is there is so far overtaxed and overburdened that they're dying off, and there's become a great chasm between the rich and the poor, and that's not by accident.
No.
The top 1%, their share of the wealth has grown and grown.
They have the power to influence the stock market, man. So they have the power of predictability. They can predict what's going to happen, which gives them more power with their money. So it's just been an endless cycle of that forever for them. And they were at the top when it started.
A good example would be the mortgage thing that happened, and then the economic crash around 2008. And, before that, everybody could buy a house easy. People who had never qualified before could go out and buy a house. And so everybody did. They went out and bought a house, and it ran the prices way, way up. And the prices got higher and higher and higher, and it kept building and building. But eventually they knew that was like any bubble, it would crash.
Yeah, because they let out heaps of loans. They let out heaps of mortgages. Yeah, I remember this. Yeah.
Right, and they loaned out fake money. It's what they did. And those people went out and they bought real property, and people turned over the real property to them. And then the bubble burst, and what happened? The banks got all that property, and that's why you got the homeless problem we have now. There's enough vacant houses owned by banks to put every single one of the homeless people in like 3 or 4 homes.
Yeah.
Each one. There's that many vacant houses out there. Why do we have a homeless problem? And, I'm not for taking wealth away from one person and giving it to another. I believe that if you get out there and work hard and bust your ass in life, you deserve to have more than the other guy. I don't have a problem with that.
Yeah.
But
it creates more incentive to actually do something and contribute. And if you even look at the last World War, man, and how much money they poured into that, they could have fed and housed every single citizen in the whole planet, man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you take the defense budgets. You could take and cut the defense budget worldwide by 10%. anything like that could go through a 10% cut and survive just fine. It wouldn't even stop war, and that would be enough money to feed all of the hungry people. So why are we spending it on killing people? You know,
all the people in charge of all this stuff would know this. You know, they're aware of this. So it just goes to show you how fucking evil the people are that are at the top, and that run all these corporations, that run the world, the top of the politics, you know, the political chain.
Well, see what these guys did at the top, what they did with that mortgage thing, when the bubble burst, they raked in all of that real property, real wealth, you know. And so now they got it. They traded fake money for real property, and that was a huge move that they made to gain more and more wealth, more power. And that's what wealth is to them, power. It's not money to them, it's power.
Right.
So
and
that's what they want for.
You just reminded me, the Las Vegas incident, and you got to ask yourself who's going to profit from that, you know. Because I see it like they're probably trying to hit as many birds with this one stone as they can, much like 9/11.
Right.
And so you got to ask yourself what their agenda is. You know, obviously it's to further their gun restriction laws. They want to take guns away, so that's to further that agenda. Obviously, besides that, I would say it would to profit from it. And if they, because they've scared people so much, people will probably not only agree or accept, but almost demand more security in these places. You know, things like metal detectors.
Yeah, you're already hearing it.
In the morning.
So yeah, they're.
And where he's at still.
He's waking up.
Yeah. I'll let you go, dude, and get some sleep because I know it's late where you are. So I appreciate you staying up for the turn.
Oh, that's all right. Anytime. I gotta do my radio show this afternoon too. So.
All right, man. I'll let you go get some sleep, bro.
His name, Ethan's gonna be on it. So.
Oh, cool, man. I'll check that out, man. For sure.
He's gonna take calls for a couple of hours. So that ought to be interesting.
All right, man. Well, it was good catching up anyway.